everybody, welcome. A very, very long time to, how do you say, talk and, emphasize the feminine aspects in the Dharma and in general. But I never find, how do you say, such more specialist this subject. So today, very exciting. So I think I just want first question to you. You guys talking about feminine principle, and I heard that a lot, and other people also talking in the West. Tibetan, we don't have that exact word, and so that's why. What does mean? Can you explain, please?
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. And it's so lovely to be here for another fireside chat. So when I came to move to Boulder at the very end of 1977, Trungpa Rinpoche was teaching a lot about the feminine principle. And I was so intrigued by these teachings. Many, many people were intrigued. They were very elusive, very profound. And it was clear it had something to do with women, but not only women. And I was curious about it and had opportunities to ask him questions. And his answers were often very elusive. After he passed, I was still very curious and began to go to other lamas besides Trungpa Rinpoche to ask about the feminine principle. And as you say, I went to 13 different Rinpoches and asked a series of questions about the feminine principle. And they would say, feminine principle, what do you mean? We don't have anything like that. We don't know what you're talking about. But they often said, what did your Lama tell you? So I shared aspects of what he taught about the feminine principle. And they said, oh, you mean Dakini principle. And as a result, many of them got very excited about sharing more and more and more. And so for 15 years, I began just collecting different perspectives on Dakinis and Dakini principle and the Vidyadhara's teachings on feminine principle. And eventually I began to realize, maybe I should write something. And then several Rinpoches, particularly Minling Kanda Rinpoche, said, you have to write a book on this. There are so many questions of the lamas. They never know what to say. There's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of feeling that Tibetan teachers are patriarchal and that they are bad for women and they abuse women. You have to write something about this tradition. So that's what I did. So I wrote this book on Dakini's warm breath, which is really all about the blessing of the feminine principle that we experience in our practice, in our life, and throughout the tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. So it was a great joy. I spent quite a few years working on it and changing it, editing it. But basically, I realized that he was giving the innermost teachings of Dakini. And there are lots of outer teachings of Dakini. And one of the reasons why these lamas were so generous is because they realized that he had already taught the innermost part. And they were very impressed and wanted to know more of what he taught on this topic.
So what do you think that Chujam Trungpa, he talked that such earlier, no other lamas talk much.
That's right.
So
many of them avoid the topic because it can be treacherous ground. Yes.
Huh?
Yes. So he I think because he came to America and to the West at a time when feminism was working, there was a lot of interest in political causes. People thought of issues between men and women as in an only political way. And I think that he also understood that the sacredness of the feminine had been lost in the West, as it has been lost in so much of the world and lost in Tibet, and many Tibetan traditions as well. And that this allowed him, because of his emphasis on the feminine being the space of potentiality out of which all wisdom arises, it's like he was inviting us into the open space of possibility and encouraging us that without some experience of groundless open space, we would never have any wisdom ourselves. So he invited us to enjoy the space. I mean, Khandro means she who dwells in, walks in, enjoys the space.
Yes.
So he was inviting us to do that.
Yes, yes. I think he is, how do you say, the word, I forgot the word.
I'm so sorry I don't speak Tibetan.
No, revolutionary teacher. He's a revolutionary.
Yes.
So that's why, like,
revolutionary.
yes, he's a revolutionary. So that's why he's feeling what the gives, we
Yes.
Missing and didn't focus, like, right?
Yes, and being a revolutionary teacher, when he taught these teachings on the feminine, all of his teachings really, but
Yeah.
his teachings on the feminine principle blew out of the water my conventional understanding of female and allowed me to rediscover from some atmosphere of curiosity all the dimensions of the feminine, which is not the same as female.
Yeah. So I would like, if you can, just saying we taught Dakini, that's word, we taught that in English, how do you describe that feminine principle?
That's a tough question,
But we can try.
yeah, I will try to summarize.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean one time I asked Rinpoche about who are Dakinis, and he said one never knows.
Huh?
And
one never knows.
One never knows.
Oh, yeah.
Which means.
Yeah.
But feminine principle, as I understand it, and what I got from teachings from these amazing, generous lamas, is on the most subtle level, is the nature of mind. On an inner level is the visionary Dakini as Yidam or deity. On an outer level is the network of the subtle body, the energy of the subtle body.
Yeah.
And on the outer level is human Dakinis. And that all of those are related in our practice through our experience. So as we begin to really tune into that, when we begin to understand the sacredness of gender, we can begin to feel the sacredness of the body, the subtle body. We can begin to feel the sacredness of the visionary Dakinis and Yidams and deities, and we can feel the sacredness of the nature of our mind.
Yeah.
So it's very, very profound teaching. It summarizes all the Vajrayana.
Yes. And particularly that Chujang Trongpa's, his Dharma, inside his Dharma, how he addressed that Dakini.
Yes, in the Dharma itself, the Shambhala Dharma, he didn't talk about Dakinis, but he did talk about the feminine principle.
Oh, yeah.
As space.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he didn't. The Dharma do not have Dakinis. They have dralas, and there are female dralas. But in the Dharma itself, there's much more emphasis on space and accommodation.
Yes.
And on the unseen aspects. The physical world is more masculine. The energy between is feminine.
Yeah.
The culture is feminine.
Yeah.
The possibility and the healing energy of the universe and nurturing energy of the universe is feminine, but not Dakinis per se.
Yeah.
So we have here Agnes Au, who is specialized in the Dharma teachings of the feminine. And I've focused more on the Vajrayana teachings of the feminine, but she teaches these teachings so beautifully and has focused on that because he gave her special transmissions on the feminine in the Shambhala Dharma. So happy that she's here tonight.
Yeah. Would you like to say something?
Would you like to say anything? So can I ask you some questions?
Yes.
And this is related
First,
to...
you before question me, I would like to say something. My understanding, like Dakini and feminine.
Good. This is what I was going to ask.
Is the same meaning. So why I want to say here, because you are a specialist, you wrote this book and you analyze everything. Because then I want to say something, because in Tibet and when my study time, we can't any questions. If we question, they consider rude. Like that. That time is like this. Now a little bit change it, but that time you can't question anybody. So it's everything I have to my own interpretation. And then come to the West, people always question me, what's Dakini? So my answer.
And you think they're rude?
No, I never thought that,
okay.
because I never liked to cannot have question on these things. I never liked it, so that's why I really liked in the West question. So if anybody question me something I don't know, I just say I don't know. But if I have some opinion, then I just talk. So when the people question me, what is Dakini?
Yes, what do you say?
Then I say Dakini is. We can think about literal meaning, and then we can think about the more kind of feminine part of the meaning. Then I say we can think more than that, and we can think, basically we can think about in general or specific. So I say in specific, like if a refugee prayer, say first Yutam, if it's Vajrayana, then Guru, and then Yutam, and then Buddha, then Dharma, then Dakinis and Dharma protectors.
That's right.
Like that way. So it's just a little bit lower than Buddha, Dharma, like put that way, right? And then, but that's in general. But in specific way, you can't go only that level. It seems like in many levels.
Yes.
And then humans, we anybody females we respect for, we call Khentrul. Khentrul means they're translated in the Dakini.
She who flies.
Yes, she flies. So then I say flies also don't take that literally just fly. If not fly, then it's not Dakini.
It's like space.
It's not that. I just say it's kind of respect and something special about. That's my understanding. So and then I didn't connect it with just the space, but I see like that way. But more often, Dakini is something. The female quality is like a nurturing quality. Nurturing, we're not talking about physical nurturing.
Yes.
Only we're talking about more spiritually.
Spiritual nurturing.
So that's why often whoever good practitioners and solitude practitioners and whoever good practitioners, they're looking after by Dakinis,
The mother Dakinis, they take care of us on retreat.
Always take care of my Dakinis, So,
yes.
Even I say Dharma protectors look after them, but Dharma protectors kind of protect and preventing the obstacles. But if they subtle obstacles, then more Dakinis look after, and more you need spiritual nurturing, and then is always Dakini, you know. So more female, or how do you say, quality. So that's why it is, to me, is matched with in human world what the female quality, you know, is matched just normal, you know, normal, ordinary female quality, and this Dakini spiritual nurturing, they are similar quality, just degrees, you know, different.
But how about the wrathful Dakini? Because sometimes, in order to be kind to a practitioner, the Dakinis can be very wrathful.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. In general, often like that way, but in specific way, then, you know, like wrathful Dakini also.
Sometimes you need someone to wake you up.
Yes. Very scary, you know, like, So this also, that's why I thought saying, people telling, you know, like, in many ways you have to think about in general and more specific individual cases, and you know, many degrees, you know.
Yes.
So in many ways, think about it. That's I explain, you know, like.
That's wonderful.
There's anything,
and I love what you say about the Dharmapalas are more for external obstacles and Dakinis more for internal obstacles. That's beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah. So.
Can I ask you specifically?
Yes.
Because from our last conversation as well, I'm so excited that your tradition is the Kalachakra, because our Shambhala Terma, one of the major influences is the Kalachakra, but then also the Gesar tradition and the Dzogchen tradition. But the Kalachakra is not well understood in the West, and certainly not in our community. So what are the feminine aspects of Kalachakra Tantra in particular?
Yeah.
And particularly the Shambhala aspects of the Kalachakra Tantra in particular.
Yes, like this. So in Kalachakra Tantra, the ultimate, the feminine principle, the Vishavamata, so the inseparable of the Kalachakra. So basically, just named we call Kalachakra, probably patriarchal society, so that's why named that way, but the meaning it goes just equally, no differences.
They're inseparable, and they're not.
Yeah, there's no.
They're not
hierarchy.
complete.
Yes.
They're not complete if they're apart.
Yes. There's no hierarchy. There is no separation. You know, like that's why we call eventually we call the form of emptiness.
Yes.
Is the feminine aspect. The most depth level, and the blissful nature is the male aspect. Inseparable of this is the Kalachakra Yavyam, you know, the union.
Yes.
So ultimately we call like that way, and then of course the if we look at the Kalachakra mandala, is more emphasized feminine than other mandalas. So that's
in what way?
Because there is Kalachakra have like 636 deities.
Is the retinue?
Oh yeah, all of them together.
Yeah, all of them together.
So you know retinue. Yeah, you can say retinue. So all of them together is 636 deities or 720 deities, just different little bit way counted, but same meaning. If there are the numbers more females.
So there's some retinue Dakinis who do not have a partner. So in there are, you say there are more female.
Yeah, there's more
in the retinue.
More females. For instance, like 72 yoginis in the speech mandala.
I see.
And 360 the goddesses we call, that is in the body mandala.
Yes.
So most of them is principal is the female, and then the male is the consort.
Yes. Okay.
So like that way, I think that's why many scholars believe that Kalachakra is mother tantra.
I see.
But I think many other scholars say is a neutral tantra. But the point why they think is mother tantra, because the physically you have much more female deities there than male deities, and then female principles there's a lot, right?
Yes.
That's the reason, but it's not only that reason, but the Kalachakra Tantra is the most clear and elaborated Tantra on this earth. So that's why it's like wisdom aspect, you know.
Yes, so the wisdom, I was going to ask, because, I mean, people here probably know the Kalachakra Tantra is the most elaborate, most detailed, most complicated, and most sophisticated Tantra of all the Tantras in Tibetan Buddhism. And it is the one that is least really known and understood in the West. So what you just said, I mean, if you need to know more about that, we could talk about that, because this is the one. This person could tell you a lot. But the reason you're saying, one of the reasons may be that there are more female figures, yoginis and such, in the retinue, is because female retinue figures always represent wisdom.
Yeah.
So it's putting more emphasis on the wisdom dimension rather than the skillful means dimension of the Tantra itself.
Yes. That's why they think it's Mother Tantra.
Yes.
But those people think it's neutral Tantra because, you emphasize, they emphasize equal.
Yes.
They think it's emphasize equal. There's more female deities, yes, but still they argue, they emphasize equal. So
is there also in the tantras that we have practiced, particularly Chakrasavara Vajrayogini, the emphasis also is very much working with passion, like the Mother Tantra.
Yes.
Is the same true in the Kalachakra?
The
Desire.
Chakrasambhara is well known in Mother Tantra.
Yes.
Gu Samaya is the well known, I think, the Father Tantra.
Yes.
So they emphasize the wisdom and methods. For instance, Guru Samaya is more methods oriented. You know? So like that. That your question?
My question is, so is Kalachakra more on the side, of course, more on the side of wisdom, but is it also related especially to passion and desire?
Oh yeah, the passion or desire, yes. Kalachakra, usually people receive blessings, like body, speech, mind.
Yes.
But Kalachakra have 4 called Yeshi, like the...
non-conceptual wisdom.
More like primordial, more primordial wisdom, And so they often this connected with desire, the passion.
Yes.
Extra passion. So that's why when they're talking about Tigli, also they extra emphasize on that. So Kalachakra.
Yes.
So that's why, yes, Kalachakra is more than any other. I think it's more emphasized the passion side. Yeah.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which is a very easy question, but in the 14 root downfalls of Samaya, it's considered that you break your Vajrayana vows if you denigrate women.
Yeah.
And it says, if you denigrate women who are representations of wisdom.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is the relationship between the symbolism and the deities of the Kalachakra and real women, human women? Is there some relationship directly? Or is this feminine, just feminine, masculine, not having anything to do with men and women?
No, I think you can't criticize the woman if you do denigrate your 14th root vow.
Yes.
Done for 14th root vow. That's you have to go directly real woman. Okay, so real woman. Why? That means that you can criticize the male.
You can criticize men, but you can't.
The answer is no, equally. But we talking about women means we're not talking about particularly individuals, women's weakness we cannot point out, not talking about that, but more talking about some criticism of because of women,
In other words, prejudice against women is breaking your vow.
Yeah, you're breaking your vows.
Yes.
That means if you prejudice with men, if you did that, is that right? That's also not right.
Yes.
But why not in the the list? Why not in the list? I believe that's because we have this problem in the world. We have that patriarchy problem.
Yeah. Because of patriarchy, you have to remind people about women.
That's why. But it doesn't mean you can do men have this. It doesn't mean that, I think equally have problem if female or anybody criticize, like the men who do, but yes, I think the issue is that's why more go directly normal men and women, don't have to go very simple part.
Well, it's very interesting to see that in the root samayas, because it's like there's a recognition that under patriarchy, women are often put down.
Yes.
And this is to counteract that. And there's some kind of power in Vajrayana that we don't find necessarily in Hinayana and Mahayana in terms of attitudes toward women.
Yeah, that's why it's clear Vajrayana is higher than any other. Not only that's one reason, but in many ways we can see this, But some kind of obvious level this is more special and high consideration, right?
Yes. Yes, and so do you think that your perspective about this is common among Tibetan lamas?
You mean...
understanding about patriarchy.
Oh, no.
I didn't think so.
No, it's... the lamas coming to the West a little bit better because they learn from Western, but the lamas from Tibet, they stay there, So sometimes I hear an online talk, and then it's still there a lot of patriotic.
Yes.
It's just not only lamas, but it's so many people have this,
Well, patriarchy is everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere.
And the interesting I want to talk is in Tibet, women just accept, and they don't have unhappiness, obviously, but definitely. I don't know, we can't say every individual don't have unhappiness, this in certain level, I can't say. But in general, because they don't have awareness, there is other possibility. So they get used to, so they just accepting, and even, I remember, I had this for some reason in my gene. When I was young, before teenage, even that time, how society, how we act in things doesn't make any sense. So then I always kind of like I size the woman, I then argue them. And for instance, some things in the ritual part, women cannot do this, women cannot touch these things. I just do it. I tell women, I do it. And they say, no, we are women, cannot do this. Then I just say, do it. Why can't women do it? There's no reason can't do it. Just do it. Oh, no. Huh?
Because she knows that she would get in trouble with many others, but not so much
not
with
only
you.
that, but I think not only trouble, but I think their mind,
socialized,
they believed, oh, we are women, so we shouldn't. They just have this, and then not often very unhappy about this, so that's why sometimes I take some Western people and go to Tibet. Some Western women angry, like how they treat and like this. Then I just try to then come down, like say, it's okay, don't worry, they're happy. They're still happy, so don't worry. Like that, a little bit.
But there are more women these days in Tibet who are writing about and talking about the fact that some of these things need to change. So I wanted just to share a little story. After my book came out, I was in Washington, D.C., giving a weekend program on Dakinis. And in the back row, there was a Tibetan woman dressed up with 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And they were sitting in the back row listening to everything. And at the end of my talk, the mother raised her hand and she said, I was in the party with Trungpa Rinpoche escaping from Tibet. And I was a refugee and I moved to Toronto. My husband works in the government. And I brought my 3 daughters down here to hear what you have to say about Dakinis. And she said, all my life, I've gone to Tibetan lamas to ask them about the things you wrote in your book, and they never would tell me. And I would say, she said, how did you get them to tell you? And I said, well, it's because my teacher was so kind and gave these teachings, and that's why they gave me more teachings. She said, I would go to these teachers and say, close your eyes and pretend I'm a Western woman and just tell me, answer my questions, but none of them ever would. And she was saying, you as a Western woman had privilege that you could receive these teachings from these Tibetan lamas, and it completely broke my heart. And we spent the weekend talking, sharing her experiences and of her own family and her own life as a Tibetan woman, having a hard time. But she said, the things that are in your book, I always knew were there, but no one would ever talk to an ordinary Tibetan woman about them. Really broke my heart.
Yes, but I think it's not only women. Even I am a monk. If I study time, if I ask any other lama, that I'd never ask it because it's rude, but at that time.
That's right.
But even I ask now, today, let's say I go in Tibet and lama say, what do you understand Dakini means? Probably they just say, oh, Dakini, oh, the Vajrayogini, like Magic Laptun, or some, like we have humans, like, or such and such, Khentrul, the second Khentrul this, and they just bunch of these names, and then
they don't talk about the meaning.
No.
Yes.
So that's why it's just.
And when I interviewed the 13 Rinpoches and recorded conversations, had lots of time, I'd say, so where can I go to a text to read about this? They say, not in any text. You learn this from your teacher, oral tradition. No, it's not written down anywhere.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So not break down, not good. Sometimes some things, like culturally habituated, then people have no question, like many things have no question, and then they think they know. And people don't know, they don't know,
Yeah.
Don't aware, you don't know, like if you get a breakdown, then you don't know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the matter of people have very curiosity in many things and no curiosity, So in the West, I think everybody have curiosity because you are trained from the very small child in the
to
class.
Raise our hands.
Question, hands up, like question. They have habit, this very, very young children I see often like this, and like, so we don't have that, that's the problem. Even we try to, sometimes Asians, some students, even I raise them question, and then I, like pointing and out, and don't we think that contradict? Don't we think this? What do you mean that? What do you think? Is that means? What do you think? And try to even let them question, but still very hard to.
Yes.
The question arises.
So, do you think anything can be done to change that in Tibet?
Yes, I often I go, like the China and Vietnamese and Asian Buddhist countries. When I go there, not young, do you know what it means? Their temples one monk have 2, 3 huge temples, huge luxuries. One monk, for one monk. So Tibetan temples means one temple you have a few hundred monks at least, and they just enough for room for them to study and practice. But the Vietnamese and the Chinese, one monk have huge 2, 3 temples. What for one monk? And what is the inside? No young people, no monks, of course, no monks, no even lay people, young people, and no even men, only few old ladies, The old ladies just working, no teaching.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying, this females naturally they have this kind of like kindness, or say work like this, but it's so then like it's same as even Australia. I saw there's huge temple have no students, huge temples, the Asians. So I say because our own fault. We didn't teach properly. We didn't teach with the time, we didn't modernize. And we, very old traditional way, cultural way, we expecting the young people follow. But they don't, because it's time changes, the most of them is more cultural habituation way. It's not like rational way of question and analyzing, understanding, not that way. So that's why the young people, they don't believe it, It doesn't make sense to them.
Yes,
so
it's not relevant to
them.
So
I say, if we don't change this, it's going to be lost.
Yeah.
So we lost our own fault. I try to tell like this. So my idea is how to change is, I think, first we have to understand what young people interest in, what they're interested in, and what their issues in their life.
Yes.
And we start from their interest and their issue, what their troubles they have. And we introduce as medicine and their trouble and their interest. If the medicine or antidote, we say, if their trouble, then there should be interest.
That's the Bodhisattva path.
Yeah, I think my understanding, you have to start from there.
Yes.
Even the Tibetans just say, children, do this, pay respect, do mantra. They teach that way. That's okay, but that's not enough,
Yeah, it
so
doesn't
that's,
actually
I think, so
help
please,
people with their lives
please,
so
if
much.
you have some opinion on this, please tell.
Oh, I do, but
How we should change.
I'd like to open it up for questions. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. See what people here want to ask. Yes, David? You'll have to wait for a microphone, huh?
Not working.
There we go. Yes? When we take refuge in the Kalachakra lineage, I believe there's a woman in there. And does that happen very often? That the
partner
is held
of
by a woman?
Huh?
In other Tibetan Buddhist sects,
Yeah.
are there also women lineage holders, or is this a little bit unique to the Jonang?
Yeah. I think it's not only Jonang. I think it happened to other lineages as well. But the problem is after patriotic is always there, but basically, the emphasis go to the monastic system. Buddhism go to the emphasis on the monastic system. After that, there's no much woman. Okay, there's no much woman because you don't let women in the monastery, right? That's one thing. Because you focus in patriarchal, you focus in patriarchal Vinaya vows and rules, the monastic system. So the monastic is males, and so the women you not let in there.
The women would be a big distraction in a
yes
celibate monastery.
Yes, and then non-raris is a very rare. In modern time, right now there's a lot of, but at that time is less. So that's why the lineage, inside lineage, women lineage holders dropped. That's why not many, but from the beginning, if Kalachakra, the father and the son and the daughter, they all becomes like incredible. So that's why this magic Turkish Jombam in the Jonang Kalachakra lineage, she's there. And also there's a few females, Kankantali Romo and some 17th century. There is, she transmit many, some lineage inside, I believe she's there, but not every lineage list her name, so like that.
And just one other part about that is that because there have always been women practitioners who became realized, and there have always, in the yogi and yogini traditions of Vajrayana, there's always been women practitioners, and that's been very strong. But because they, through society, were discouraged from taking students or being recognized or being enthroned for social reasons, not because of their realization. And if they could have students, they could only have 1 or 5 rather than 100. And so there's no one to tell their story. But what's very interesting is that in Tibet, in Larangar, in a particular community, there's a whole community of nuns now who have made it their business to comb Tibet for the lost stories of realized women. And they have begun to collect those, and they've created many volumes of teachings and biographies of realized women that have previously been lost and are gone. And there's tremendous excitement about these multiple volumes that are now the stories of the realized women of Tibet whose stories had not surfaced. And so there's a huge translation project being run by Northwestern University. Sarah Jacobi is the head of the project, and they are the nuns in Tibet, and Western translators are working on translating these stories. So it means that those lost stories and those few stories that were lost, that were told by, among the few disciples, have now come to light in text form. And there's a whole wave of excitement about this lost tradition now being translated, and in another 5 to 7 years, these things will start being published in the West. It's a very exciting project.
So the Dawa Songpo asked for a path that was not monastic.
Yes.
And I was hoping that non-monasticism would give the feminine a break.
I think it's probably been there from the beginning, but the other thing is, do remember Buddhist nuns. And the biggest issue about the nunneries is they've not had a good education system or training, and now more and more support for nunneries is coming. So there are more nuns that are receiving full instructions and empowerments. So a lot has happened in the last 10 to 15 years. Yes, but for lay women, of course, if we have a path, and Rinpoche's book on the path of desire, which is quite a remarkable book. He has a bunch of remarkable books. I've read now 2.5 of his books, and they're excellent. He talks about the importance of lay practitioners of Vajrayana, that it's important to have lay people practicing the Vajrayana. Of course, Trungpa Rinpoche always emphasized that. Householder yogis and yoginis. He felt that was the core of Vajrayana in the West.
Yeah, I feel is Nara is now is a lot, and the Gelugpas are doing like geshimas, like the non-geshis and like these things. They're all good. It's progress, but I believe non-Rari monastery only education system not enough. I believe we should establish, that women don't want to be nun, but still want to study, especially want to go Vajrayana way. They want to go that way and they study. They should have special study places, practice places, like the wealthy, the whoever wealthy and, these lamas have big wealthy students or whatever, they should support.
Yoginis, female practitioners.
Yes, yogini training, or we say yogini school or yogini retreat center or whatever you say, doesn't have to be nun, like.
That's right.
Maybe you can't have babies, like maybe 10 years or something, but 5 years or whatever, but but it doesn't have to be nun, and like so that's I believe, so that's why it's I don't have that establishment that yet, but this is my vision. So other questions? Yeah.
Yes,
before you ask, I want to ask one that comes up every time. Because normally when Rinpoche talks about this, or talks about, in the future there may be female Kalkis, so female Kalkis in Shambhala who rule, then this always brings up the question around this New Age idea of feminine and masculine, and then if the masculine is really strong, and then the feminine has to be submissive, and then if you're saying that they're going to be like female rulers, then does that mean that they're like now female rulers, like power chicks, like like strong women that are like aggressive, and then all the men are wearing aprons in the kitchen and suddenly became submissive? And is this what we're saying the feminine masculine principle in Buddhism is? So this always comes up of like this female masculine idea that's very popular right now, especially in a lot of like New Age and
also in
Tantra.
mainline politics.
Yes, yeah. So I'm curious on the response on that one. This comes up all the time.
One thing is that in the text in Anuttara Yoga Yana, which is what I know the best, the understanding of feminine and masculine has nothing to do with any of that. It has a different energetic description, and it seems to me, from the point of view of the traditional descriptions in Tibetan Buddhism, that the Western caricature is like hyper-masculinity and hyper-femininity, which has no similarity to the ideals within the feminine-masculine balance of each of us.
Yes.
So I think that's important that when we say feminine and masculine in Tibetan Buddhism, we don't mean the hyper-feminine, hyper-masculine caricatures that we're seeing in politics right now, too. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I often explain, that's why I say, the feminine energy and the masculine energy, they are balanced, then works. Same like electricity, you have this positive and negative. Together work so well, we all know everything, right? But if they are unbalanced, something go wrong, then is big problem start, right?
Yes.
So I say our society, that's problem is still not resolved. So when I say, like in the future, we, like in tradition, these texts in Shambhala, there's no such thing well-known female Kalkis, okay? But there's some lamas, and I saw even Kajupas, they draw some females together, the Kalkis. They didn't have names, but they wrote this. So then I found suddenly when I retreat, I found many of them.
That's great.
So that's why I have the vision. Then in the future, many female Kalkis, to rule this world and then perfectly balanced. But then that's why Yeshua was talking about is people don't think that way. Oh, then female rules everything, men have no power. Oh, that's terrible. It's not means, like it's right now we have, not enough balance of the feminine quality. So that's why the society problem, and even spiritually we are not balanced. So, but when you have more female, means balance. Balance means, like you go everything in the right way. Everything perfect way. That means good news for men. Basically,
Yes,
it's not
yes.
not bad news for.
That's right.
So like
Much more enjoyable life.
yeah.
Not so much a power struggle, but actually harmony and enjoying each other and drawing energy from each other rather than competing.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you don't, when you don't know how to harmonize
Yes.
and how to unite, then you have problem.
That's right.
But when you know that, then is everything perfect, So that's
Trungpa Rinpoche said when he was talking about men and women, and this is like the hyper-masculinized, hyper-feminized, he said that women are crazy and men are stupid.
yeah.
That's when things are going wrong.
Yeah.
Women are crazy and men are stupid. But then the qualities in these interviews, I asked many different lamas about what they learned about feminine and masculine in energetic in our life, and the feminine energy having a very sharp and clear adherence to true seeing, and but no kind of blind allegiance, but just basically it could be perceived as fickle, but it's because it goes with whatever is true. It can be very, very sharp. And the masculine being more steady and more emphasis on loyalty and on working in groups. A very interesting description, which I put in my book, of the way in which the feminine energy is described in this group of lamas who I interviewed, and the way the masculine energy, and then what happens if they miss each other and they end up, the feminine becomes very shrill and very slightly hysterical, and the masculine becomes very solid and heavy-handed and blunt.
Yes.
And that is what we have a lot in our culture.
Yeah.
So the intelligent feminine and intelligent masculine has a beautiful kind of dance, and we have that in ourselves, each of us.
Yes. So that's why I try to explain, people, when I explain the path of desire, I tell them it's simple. Just tell them you have to enjoy the females all qualities. Not if you focus one quality like sexuality or something, one quality, then you have problem. But if you can enjoy all aspect of the feminine or all aspect of masculine, if you know how to enjoy, then you have great time together. That's I'm talking about like normal human level. And then if we go to the ultimate level, Vajrayana core, the final enlightenment, they call you achieved the union.
That's right.
So means it's ultimate union. Ultimate union, the best union you achieved, that means you are fully enlightened, become omniscient. So Sudayana, don't talk about that. Just say, oh, you are enlightened. The language is different. Sudayana say, you are enlightened, you're going to be enlightened Buddhahood. It sounds like male, like Buddha,
Yes.
like male, right? But in Vajrayana core, you will achieve union.
Inseparable masculine
Yes,
and feminine.
yeah.
Yes.
The ultimate union, of course, inseparable,
Yes, yes.
She has something to say. Did you want to say something? Yeah.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Judith. I wanted to add something in terms of how Trungpa Rinpoche talked about these principles outside of gender. That was his main emphasis. Yet, because the words female and feminine and masculine principles are used, it's very hard to not be literal. But if the teachings he gave were quite abstract, but I've stayed with them for decades, and very simply, the feminine principle is all of the space aspects of reality. Masculine principle is the energetic aspect of reality. And the whole dance is about how they are inseparable from the beginning. And it's only from our neurosis that we separate them. So there are women who are very masculine, have a lot of masculine energy, and males that have more feminine energy. Neither are the example. It's union, as you say. And so I've tried to do in my work is to actually show all of these elements and why they're inseparable, what the imbalance looks like, and then what union appears to be, so that we are responsible for cultivating the whole thing. So space and energy in union. And sometimes when I'm speaking now, I'm the masculine principle. And when people are listening, that's the feminine principle. But you change. You go back and forth. Sometimes you do the dishes. Sometimes I'm teaching. It is flexible. And that's sort of in a more Western, you could say, way of understanding these principles without so much detail can also be very helpful for people to find balance.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Wonderful.
Before I ask a question, I just want to mention that in the Shambhala Dharma, Great Eastern Sun is a feminine principle, which would be more the luminosity.
Or cosmic mirror.
Well, there you go. Can you
Yes.
separate them? Can you separate them? I don't know. But I'm going to try to separate them. So, all I wanted to ask is, what do you think what makes for this description in Vajrayana of the Mother Buddhas as emptiness and the elements, and the Father Buddhas more the luminosity or clear light quality, the cognizing quality? Why does it play out that way?
Cognizing quality sounds like wisdom, which is always the feminine.
Well, then how would you characterize the
Skillful means and wisdom are the two masculine in Vajrayana, and the elements and all of that. The masculine is associated with skillful means and compassion, especially. which is such an interesting switch because people very often in the West think of compassion as a feminine quality, but in Anuttara Yoga-yana, it's definitely masculine principle.
Okay, that's one I have explanation, my own explanation.
Good.
And the compassion is usually we think compassion is like people are very soft and then kind and like care other people and sad other people suffering. People think that way. That's why a woman is more sensitive and understand other people's suffering more, feel it. That's why people think that way. But the compassion, I think, when we understand it deeply, the compassion means is courage. Have a lot of courage. So if we say you care or not care, think about who cares means who has courage. So who not care is not compassion. So means no courage to care others or anything, just only narrow focus, yeah? Care myself, nothing else. So that's why it's courage, like this brave, like this bravery or these things. In normal human, we refer to the like more quality, So that's why. So the female's bravery is more subtle level, right? The male's bravery is, how to say, the obvious level. So that's why we refrain like this. So that's why I think the compassion refer like this, refrain. So the woman we offer, the feminist part we offer to the wisdom, because like even we think about not just ordinary woman, a human woman, have more this, how to say, the sensitivity and the can feel more than men. So that means
Intuitive, like
yeah,
intuitive.
intuitive. So that means it's related with wisdom, because when we're talking about perception, always there's 5 qualities go together. So this one is this feeling, we call feeling or intuitive or whatever you call, So that one is, that's one. Even we're talking about just normal human woman, we're talking about even that level, there is more that one. So then if we go subtle, of course, then that's why we call wisdom, So, yeah.
So explain to me the element where the feminine is identified with the elemental composition of things, because to me that would be more gross. Right?
So I think you're talking about this, the male quality is clear light, and you're talking about that part, and the female part, you said, the emptiness?
Yes.
Yeah. So that also, I think they're talking about more subtleness, subtleness. That's why in a Kalachakra we call the immutable bliss is we call male quality, and then we call female quality the form of emptiness. So the Kalachakra special language, even the emptiness still is form emptiness. It's not like normal form. It's go beyond that. Is still form, means it's still incredible qualities, full of qualities there. So that's why they're talking that. But so in general language, you have to think about when we say clear light, means there's something, right? Empty, then we can't see, invisible, right? Even normal, normal human language, in empty means invisible, absent or invisible. At least invisible you can't see. But when we say clear light or or blissful or something, then we're talking about the like the objectivity. So that's why if we think about Dharmakaya level, then more refer to the emptiness. And then Sambhogakaya which means rises from the Dharmakaya. So that's we talking about many forms, So that's why I think the masculine part is a little bit, you are referring to the comparatively is more, how do you say, obvious than.
Yes. little more
yeah,
obvious.
female quality is more subtle. Yeah.
Well, maybe I missed something, but it's the empty quality of form, I guess, we're talking about.
But he's saying that in the Kalachakra especially, emptiness and form are never separate. Is that right?
Yeah, no.
Yes.
This empty form is go beyond normal form. It's nothing to do with the normal form.
Yes.
That's why when we Kalachakra practice, the compilation practice 6 yogas, everybody experience the empty form. So go beyond the normal form. So then practice based on that.
Then the masculine quality is what?
Bliss.
Blissful. So then the union together, then is we go to the focus.
The inseparability of bliss and emptiness.
Yes. But even inseparability, there is, different aspects you can talk about, and then you can identify it separately.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, is it on? Yeah. Maybe I'm shifting the terrain slightly, but I was privileged to see Werner Herzog's film, The Wheel of Time, for the first time recently. And then I'm thinking about the fast climate change that's happening in our world and the constant warfare, and then the view and the hope for a golden age, and how there's a turning toward indigenous wisdom in many ways coming up, including Tibetan or perhaps the Iroquois. And it's, if the ancient wisdom represented by Mount Kailash and Shiva and the lake, the consort, below but essential and together, if you lose the contact with the actual happening of the earth and the sky, if your pattern doesn't represent what's happening now instead of what may have occurred eons ago, then you're losing the life force, the energy of the wheel, which has to relate to what's happening right here and now. That's all.
Thank you. Very interesting. There's a question here, and I don't know if there are questions online. Okay.
So we'll see a lot of Yidam deities engendered in specific forms, Vajrayogini and so on, mostly male, but anyways, ultimately they'll be beyond gender and distinctions. So I was wondering, quite simply, why might deities manifest in certain forms over others, if ultimately they're beyond such distinctions?
I'll just take a stab, and I'd love to see what you say, Rinpoche. The Yidams come from a long lineage of skillful means, the Yidams are more real than we are. And they hold the blessings and the wisdom and the skill of centuries of practitioners. And so and they were given probably by the Dakinis in the first place, but that quality of aliveness and power of the deities comes from all the centuries of practitioners who've become enlightened through those forms. And they've refined over time. So it's not that somebody just sort of randomly made them up. This is really reading the needs and the obstacles and the wisdom of sentient beings and what they need in order to uncover their fundamental awakening, their Buddha nature, and make that more manifest than their confused experience. So it's like a power bank of non-conceptual teachings that are so potent that the practices themselves are the teaching. They unfold. We're used to thinking and figuring things out and not changing because we're so busy thinking. And the practice of Vajrayana is about unfolding our natural wisdom without the thinking process being the motor behind it all. Thank goodness, because the thinking process is not getting us very far.
Thank you. That's very good. I often, maybe if I add something a little bit, often people maybe, I believe people confused, and because I have been confused when I study, So what is the Yidam? What's Buddha? What is the difference? What is Dakini? What is not Dakini? Like that kind of, it's Buddha females, are they Dakini? Like that kind of. So I often say, you have to think about you have to think about Yidams means there is generally is identify Yidam, or the individual cases becomes Yidam. That's different, you have to understand that way. So in generally, identify Yidam means like Chakra Sambara, Gusmaya, Kalachakra, like that kind of come with a big system that the Judaism saying it for a long time, and we come with big system and big long lineage, So those is Yidams in general, So that is always have to be Buddha. Buddha means fully enlightened Buddha, must, not just Bodhisattva or anything like that. So that's in general Yidam. So then, for individuals, you don't have to be like that. Somebody, Tara becomes my Yidam, or any of, some usually considered not Buddha and Bodhisattva or something like that, or they could becomes Yidam. Because individual special connect, if they formed it, established, then it's your Yidam. And not general, this is not Yidam, but it's for your case is Yidam for you. So I think if we understand that, then it's maybe a little bit helpful. What do you think?
Wonderful. So there are questions online? Are there?
No questions online. They're just all expressing appreciation. I think I'm going to ask another one that is the common one. So can you elaborate a little bit more on like the masculine aspect and the skillful means? Because I think because then this becomes also mysterious, then that we also end up back in the whole and also harmony. It's not the idea of harmony isn't really appreciated by everybody because it's seen as like a loss of power almost, or like this peaceful aspect is like, does this mean I don't know, neutral to everything, sort of powerless?
Okay, so at first I want to say something, and then I believe Judah say more clear, and then clear understand it. So I'm talking something my personal understanding, my personal level understanding when we talk about masculine, and we have to think about like the gross level, obvious level, and then go subtle. Everything you have to understand that way. The same as masculine also. So when we talk about masculine, right? So then what we expect, the most gross level, what we expect human, man, what we expect, we expect at least the man can able to save your family, right? In many ways, you have to save your family. That's your responsibility, financially or whatever. You have to save your family. Is the man and cannot do anything for your family, you are not very good. So that we have to consider. And then if we go a little bit deeper, I feel that's why I said often the male is the male quality is we often refer the text compassion and skillful mean, and compassion means, skillful means, okay, you have to take care of your family and you have to have a little bit skillful, otherwise you couldn't do it. So that's more obvious level. But even the subtle level, then I talking about the compassion, why I referring to the caring, because the caring, I feel caring means you are brave. You care means you are brave. You know, you care, not just your family, but you care as a community level, you national level, international level. You care means you are brave. You are a real man. Like I think that way. So that means also you are compassionate. So compassion. Often that the feeling level. The feeling level referring I always see is like starting point compassion, but the real compassion have to be attitude, not the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that way. So that's why then you go more further. Then talking about this blissful quality, still talking about the more quality. Before I refer to feminine, to still talking about the more manifestational aspect rather than the like mother, the source,
Yes.
So I think that way. So please, can you clarify more?
I don't know. I mean, I think that the issue about masculine is when we talk about skillful means, the importance of feminine and masculine going together is without wisdom, there's no skill in means. There's only do, but you don't have any clarity about what to do. And Trungpa Rinpoche talked about the importance, the feminine principle comes first, because without the space and without the wisdom, then whatever you do is clumsy and is going to cause problems. But the reason why the deities are in union is that then the compassion is fierce and strong and knows what to do and can do it, just as you described. So it's like a fulfillment of the bodhisattva path, the absolute bodhicitta of emptiness and wisdom, the relative bodhicitta of actually helping people and doing things. That the relative is the masculine principle, the absolute is the feminine in terms of bodhicitta. And when they're joined together, then you have effectiveness and you can actually do things. And as you say, on a gross level, take care of your family, but on a subtle level of doing what is appropriate and skillful to relieve suffering in that situation. And doing so, I love what you said earlier about compassion. We think the English word compassion is very sappy. And the quality of warriorship involved
Yes.
in real compassion has fierceness and strength.
Yes.
And the whole tradition in Shambhala of warriorship is very connected to this notion of compassion and skillful means together. So it seems like that's what's important. Also, it takes away the kind of toxic masculinity dimension of the masculine principles. When skillful means and compassion go together as strength and bravery and fearlessness, being willing to go ahead and act in the situation that needs action. And to think about what Agnes was talking about earlier, the energetic dimension as the masculine, that there's something activated if there's wisdom that sees what needs to happen, sees the truth, understands the true nature of reality, then actions come from wisdom rather than just out of nowhere, out of random impulse and klesha. So
yes, exactly. That's why I'm saying the source, the female is the source.
The source, the
talking
space.
about that, you're talking about the wisdom, So that's why we always say, like, even compassion doesn't work without wisdom, So we say that then compassion becomes like sad and discouraging and loose if you have no, wisdom,
Yes.
So that's why it's, how much you can go subtle and then you that much you go to union, union and emphasize. So that's why happening. So that's why, even obvious level we think about, we have this sayings, like, oh, there's always powerful man has a special woman behind, Even that, it's just, if we think deeply, is connected with this profound teaching.
And each of us have that in ourselves.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
why.
yes,
That's why
exactly.
the obvious level we have separately, right? And then more subtle level we have. So obvious level we can union, and in subtle level we can how much union, that much degree work better,
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, it's the power. It's not the harmony that makes powerlessness. It's like
Yeah.
the powerful effectiveness now
Yes.
in harmony. So the harmony
Yes.
is not a lack of power. Somebody's lost power. Or some
It's like dynamic harmony.
dynamic harmony.
Yes, we
Because
all
each are
know.
different in their energy.
We all know party or family or whatever, nation or whatever, how much you unite and you have that much power. If you have disunite, then always lose.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So obvious level.
Maybe this is our last question, and then we'll, please.
Yeah, I love that sense of that power together.
Yes.
And I'm just curious about the Rigdon principle and that kind of union. Because my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Rigdon, even though it's talked about as the Rigdon king often, that it's more of a gender or gender neutral or maybe androgynous.
Androgynous more.
Yeah.
The primordial Rigdon is said to combine the masculine and feminine qualities in a single figure. And so in the painting of the Rigdon, as the painting evolved and as the Sakyang supervised the painting, he was wanting to make sure that the primordial Rigdon had that kind of androgynous quality of joining masculine and feminine together. And that's genuine strength. That's genuine warriorship.
And I'm curious, this joining it together, but then also isn't there eventually like a dissolving as well?
That's probably true. That's
Which
lovely.
to me is very interesting. With a lot of young people these days are more interested in not having to identify with a certain gender or another.
And there's a great deal in these teachings that supports an understanding of gender on a spectrum and the sense of gender fluidity. There's a lot of support for the experience of a lot of people really connecting with that kind of fluidity in their own experience. So at least at Naropa, many of my Naropa students have been incredibly inspired by these kinds of teachings that provide more infrastructure from a spiritual tradition for understanding gender identity and gender fluidity and how all of that actually works. So that's very interesting. I never thought of that years ago, but that's what I've heard from my students.
Also, I just thought about, people, I think, have knowledge, like if you go deeper level, then everything more become a more union and inseparable. But at the same time, in the obvious level, like we have a male body shape, female body shape, so somebody say, oh, I feel like female, but somebody say, oh, you are male, then you offended, you're angry, like that part, it kind of, okay, you're talking about my obvious level of the body, so okay, don't mind, I don't mind. If you have this reminding, maybe helpful. That's our thought. What do you think?
I think it's all of this is very much in play in our culture right now. And I think Tibetan tradition has some very interesting tweaks to do about the wisdom dimensions, the enlightened dimensions of our interplay of gender in our experience. So on a mind level, on an emotional level, and on a body level.
Yeah.
I think it's quite intriguing.
Yeah, for instance, if somebody say me, oh, you look like a woman, okay, that's good. Instead, oh, what are you talking? I'm not look like woman, and like angry or something. Other than that, think about the quality, the good qualities. Think about, oh, okay, that's good. That's even better. I'm supposed to be in the male form, and then you look like my feels like female. Oh, okay, that means you feeling something more subtle than how I formed an obvious level. So in that way, I think people can understand this attitude, then maybe helpful. What do you think?
Exactly, I think so. And also, when you look at the Mahayana scriptures that say, look and see if you can find your female nature, see if you can find your male nature, and of course you can't find it, because what you're looking for is something solid and something very existent.
Yeah.
And it's contrary to the Dharma teachings. When we're talking about gender this way, it's very, very subtle and very...
Yeah, also, the other hand, I think nowadays many people, I look like man, but I want to identify female. And then the other hand, looks like female, but I want to identify man. And then other people, that sounds terrible, looks like terrible, this kind of view. But I think they also should be instead terrible and crazy. Instead that, I think you could think, oh, this is, indication of we all have this union inside.
Yes.
Otherwise, why look like female but male feels like male?
Yes.
And it looks like man but why feels female? Because indication of what the subtlety of inside the both inseparable union. You are just outside body is the male or female, but the inside you feel another one. So that isn't, like the indication.
Yeah, it creates a different paradigm that allows more space for actual investigation and contemplation rather than just inheriting a societal label. Yeah. And that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I think in this sense we definitely need understanding better.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. It's been such a pleasure and very interesting. I learned some very interesting new things tonight. And I appreciate that you wanted to have a fireside chat on this juicy topic.
Yes. Really, really appreciate your understanding, study, and your skillful language. I have language limitation, so. Yeah, so then it's very helpful with you talk, and I hope we can talk more other subjects.
I hope so too.
In
yes.
the future.
And I wanted to say I appreciate your revolutionary streak.
That's I like.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. This weekend we'll be here for the whole weekend. And so tomorrow, if you'd like to join, Rinpoche is doing the 8 Shambhala King Empowerment. So this is Rinpoche's Dharma around directly from the Shambhala Dharma Kings to help us connect with them. And then on Sunday, the 21st Tara Marichi happens to be Rinpoche's personal Dharma protectress. But she is also the protectress of Kalapa in the realm of Shambhala and has many profound meanings. So we will be having this event on Sunday. And then also it happens to be the equinox. So unexpectedly, we normally do this, it's called Dromikazak. So it's related to the 21 Taras and also Marichi and Shambhala. And also Shambhala in the Golden Age. It's a giant puja that is trying to work with all of our astrological aspects and sort of purify the karma related to those astrological limitations and help us build a giant pillar of good fortune and merit that can't be knocked down. So this infinite really strong fortune pillar. So we happen to always do this on the solstice and equinox, and it is the equinox, and we just have the conditions that we're going to do it here now on Sunday in the second session. So if you have the good fortune to come to the Marichi thing, also then the good fortune to participate in this this puja that really helps bring good fortune and clear obstacles. So you're welcome to join.
Especially financial
Yeah.
obstacles,
Finan-
hopefully for everyone.
Yeah.
The whole world.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's for the whole world, the golden age and prosperity,
Yeah.
not just for us.
Here is it's not normal place. This is like Shambhala center. This is been blessed by, yes, the Chomba, and so this so special place. We without range, it just happened constant. So that's even better.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to happen because also one of the things Rinpoche needs for this puja is a datar. And we were just talking yesterday, oh no, we've asked people to bring all the different substances and bless vases and everything. And Ryan and Jim kindly brought many objects. And we have to have all of these specific offering cards. And so we're trying to get all the right elements for the puja, and we're like the datar. And suddenly Rinpoche remembered, like last week, somebody gave him one that was extremely blessed out of nowhere that he brought here and forgot he even brought.
Somebody gave me the datar, the arrow to invoke the prosperity.
Yes.
Somebody gave me in Toronto, you have hundreds of lamas, hand painters, and so many places together, and he just gave me, like this. So, we're going to use that one, So this Dara Puja is really come from the Jonang lineage called Lama Lodru Trikpa's Dharma. And he has when you come to the Dara, who is the biggest teachings Dharma is Taranatha, number one. After that is this Lama Lodru Trikpa, he is the biggest. And he is well known actually in Jumapam's reincarnation. So that's also very auspicious, right? Jumapam's Dharma we are doing on a Sunday, so that's fantastic. Okay, thank you everybody. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judah. Really appreciate it. Okay.